Hello, welcome back to the porch. It's April 2nd, and this is our third episode of Lessons from the Porch. So, today I have 6 questions that we're going to go over. Karina, Sarah, Rebecca, Megan, Sydney, and Val put a question in. Thing that I talked to about Val is we need to have evidence that you guys are participating so that we can count your hours for our creditors. So I really need you guys to send me your questions every week. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a discussion board after this video goes live for next week's questions. That way you guys can check in and I can use it as your attendance in the class. And we just make sure that, with that and your ABs and your mini lessons and your field portfolio, that we have the evidence that you guys are doing the work so that our accreditors are happy. So let's talk about some things that are happening around here. In Pike County, we have our orders to get our lessons ready for the kids when they come back next week. So what we're looking at is one lesson a week, like I told you last week. And on Monday, we're looking at English, art, and music. Tuesday, math and technology classes will upload. Wednesday, history, social studies, reading, and foreign languages. Thursday, science, health, and PE. Friday will be family and computer sciences. So they were asked, there are plenty of questions in here that I can go over with you as far as like how are we grading. So what we are going to make sure of is that students are being introduced to the most important topics for the rest of the year. We're recommending that you go through and you make a checklist of the most important things that they're going to need to know for next year and make sure that those are the things that you introduce them to and expose them to. Do these grades kind of like a completion grade, because you have to remember that these students probably don't have the greatest support at home. They're going through the exact same things that we are. So who knows what their home life looks like. And it would be unfair of you to fail somebody for them performing poorly in the middle of a pandemic. What are we doing if a student doesn't have the internet? We now have a hotline created for parents. We have a paper learning packet hotline that is set to go. And we have the phone number. So our teachers are submitting their lessons to their principals. Their principals are printing those out, and then we are delivering the paper packets to the parents that don't have the internet. We are actually having drop boxes available at the school. So parents will be able to drop off their students' work weekly. There are a lot of other things that are going to come up, but I just wanted you to know what our district looks like and how we're handling this with our students. The next thing I wanted to talk about was your field observations. So there's still some confusion about this field situation. Like I said, you have to be observed by Valerie twice. If you've been observed once, you need to send her your YouTube videos. She is going to count those as your second observation. So you guys should have 5. That should be at least 50 minutes. That'll count for your second observation. For those of you that she hasn't seen, she's going to watch your videos. You may have to do another video or 2 for her. If you have not been seen by Valerie twice, you need to get a hold of her and find out exactly what she requires from you. For your portfolio, you do not have to video yourself teaching those full class lessons. The only thing that you have to record are the 10 to 15 minute mini lessons for this course. Those are separate from your field. So for field, you have to have 2 observations. If Valerie has seen you once, send her your YouTube, let her watch your videos. That'll be your second observation. Then you are to do 7 lesson plans, and you can use the ones that you've already created while you're in class, count those towards it, and then your final 4 need to plan towards a week of instruction. So the first 3 can be whatever, and then the final 4 need to all be part of a thematic unit that kind of makes sense. So area and perimeter, you could do volume, you could do any type of measurement, measures of central tendency, something that's fun that you can do some hands-on stuff and create those lessons. I'm going to ask a couple of you to post some of your lessons, or I'll ask for permission to post some of your lessons so that people can see what your lesson plans are looking like, because I've seen some really good ones, and I'm hoping that maybe seeing an exemplary lesson plan will kind of give people an idea of what we're expecting. Okay, so let's go into questions. My first question today comes from Karina. Okay, she recently saw the order for kids to be out of school until the 1st of May. I know they did away with this year's end of school testing. What ways would you use to best get your kiddos back on track and make sure they are ready for next year? Do you think schools will go back in session and stay in session during the summer months to make up for lost days, or end on the scheduled day? Okay, first of all, what we're doing in this course, the videos, that's a great way to make sure that you're introducing your kids to what they need to know. You can't assess them. All you can do is expose them right now. You can do some online surveys through Google Forms. That'd be fun. They can go through and they can, do multiple choice quizzes on there, and you can get you can get an idea of what we call a formative assessment. So you can use that to get an idea of what your kids know, but we don't really want to use that as a grade, because like I said earlier, we need to tread carefully with these kids. It's going to be hard to get them motivated to do work at home anyway. Let's not make it unbearable. The second part of your question, do I think we'll go back in session? I think that there is a strong likelihood that we will be finishing the school year at home. I don't think that we will go to school during the summer to make up for days. I think that school will end on the scheduled final day of school, which stinks because field day is like my favorite thing. At Pike County, we have this awesome field day with our multi-handicaps room called Believe and Achieve Day. And I get to be the master of ceremonies, and we play kickball. And this kid, Joseph, strikes me out every year, and he's just the best kickball pitcher of all time. So I'm really going to miss that. My next question comes from Sarah. And her question was, with special education students in grades 6 through 8, what would be a good way to help keep them up with the classroom material if they are not understanding it? Like I said, all we can do is expose them and do formative assessments through like Google Forms, or you guys could use SurveyMonkey, or you could use Kahoot, and they could go on and practice, and you could see how they're doing. And if they're not getting it, you're just going to have to reteach it. We're limited. You could video yourself doing hands-on activities, and maybe having that concrete thing will help them, or you can contact their parents individually and see if there's anything specific that they need or that maybe they would like to do with their kid, see what their interests are, and maybe get the parents involved. It's really tough to get parents involved, but there are good parents out there, so maybe reaching out is the best thing. My next question comes from Rebecca. My sister is still working full-time during this time, and so I am helping her out by helping her son with the packets that his school gave him. He is 7 and not a fan of doing schoolwork at home. So he said he would rather sit at the table until bedtime, it is currently 5 p.m. and bedtime is quite a ways off, than to do his math. Ouch. So my question is, what are your suggestions for parents and aunts who have been given schoolwork to distribute to kids who aren't too pumped about doing the work? Thanks. Sorry, this is lengthy. It's okay. This is a good question. And it's actually the question that Valerie gave me. And her question was, what do you do with a student who is traumatized by math? Now, what you need to do, especially if it's somebody who lives in your home, is chunking. 15 minutes of math, give them 2 or 3 problems. When they finish that, let them do something fun. If it was me, I would make sure that they didn't spend more than an hour a day doing their math. They're not going to spend more than an hour a day in school doing math. It's really going to stress them out. You can find creative ways to incentivize their participation in math. But as far as making a kid sit at the table until bedtime, that's pretty vicious. So, and I know that was a self-imposed punishment, and I'm not putting that on you. But I think that chunking, putting it into more manageable sections for him to do himself, you're there for support. And then when he finishes that, he gets to take a break. That's what we do all the time with our kids with limited attention spans. He's going to have so many distractions at home. It's not the greatest learning environment. People are probably out having fun all over the place, or the cat's meowing, or the dog's barking, or the TV's going. So I would try to develop an environment that is as structured as possible for him to do his work, which means TV off, maybe some low music in the background, sitting down, working for 15 minutes to a half an hour at a time, getting through a couple problems, congratulating him, positive reinforcement, let him go burn off some energy, come back in and do math again. I think that is the best way to do it. Now, if you're looking at traumatized kids in the classroom that have no support at home, like Valerie's question, I'm also going to suggest chunking. I'm going to suggest that if you're in your classroom, that you give them a reduced number of problems. You work with them more closely on problems. You allow them slowly to develop a positive relationship with math. So give them problems that you know they're going to succeed. Encourage their success, celebrate their success, and mostly let them feel like they're really good at math. Don't try to trick kids and make them look bad who are already traumatized. You don't want to be the teacher that they talk about in 30 years when their kid has math problems and they say, I'm not a math person, I had so-and-so, and it was horrible. Let's move on to our next question. And I think, Megan, is the mini lesson unit plan just 3 lessons now since we are not doing mini lesson 7? Yes, that's easy. You only have to do a 3-lesson unit now. So basically wrap it up with mini lesson 6 and you're good to go. Last week you said you can FaceTime your students to work with them. Have you done that? Okay, so we are using Zoom just because it doesn't give personal information. You can do it a little more safely with your college kids, which is great. You can do it more safely with your elementary, middle school, and high school kids. You can invite them to Zoom, and that works great. I have actually done a FaceTime 504 meeting so far, discussing with a senior that's going to graduate what she needs to expect when she goes to college, how to self-disclose, how to get accommodations, how to take her existing documentation for 504 and take it to the Office of Disability Services and request the accommodations that she thinks she's going to need. I've been using it, but in this student's case, I work with her mom, so I FaceTimed her on her mom's phone. Her mom already had my number, so I wasn't giving my number out to somebody who didn't have it. I think that if you can use something like Zoom, that would work. And it is so much more beneficial to be able to use your body language and the inflection in your voice to describe things in a way that may come across a little more understandable and kind than just blank text on a page, because sometimes you can try to write an efficient email and come across as kind of a jerk. Finally, our question from Sydney. I am currently writing a proposal on the teacher's influence in the classroom and how it relates to the New Testament. How can we, as Christians, provide an influential environment for our students? Oh, wow. This is actually something that my guidance counselor and I talk about all the time. It's okay to be a Christian. It's okay to act the way that Christ wants us to act. They can never take that away from you. I use kindness and compassion and understanding as a way to develop a Christian classroom in an environment where we're not supposed to openly talk about Christ. We talk about church because a lot of people go to church. If kids ask me, we'll talk about things. My kids know that I'm a Christian, and they know that I love them, and they know that I'm there for them, and I'm understanding. And, there are times when I close my eyes and I say a silent prayer and, ask for help with a difficult kid or a difficult situation, or patients dealing with parents that are uncooperative and not doing what's best for their kid. And, just be the example that Christ wants you to be, and put that on display for your students. We want them to see the relationship between good people, good teachers, and Christianity. We want them to think about people like us when they think about Christians. We don't want them to think about the negatives that can sometimes be associated with that word. There's nothing wrong with acting in a Christ-like manner in your classroom. And I think that's a great place to stop today. I hope that you guys are all safe. Quick wrap up of everything. Send your YouTube links to Valerie so that she can tell you where you guys are on your field. 7 lessons need to be in the portfolio. 7 lesson plans. All you have left to record is mini lesson 6 for me. You guys are looking at finishing up soon. Next week, I'll talk about the final. And make sure that you participate in the discussion board so I can keep track of your hours in your seat. Thank you. Have a great day. God bless.